It's called The Great Resignation and the Way Forward. Well, let me tell you a bit more on how it is. It's once again going to be a very, very unique presentation. It gives me, without any further delay, to invite our moderator for this segment, Dato Seri Lee K. Choon, the Special Investment Advisor to Chief Minister of Penang and Distinguished Adjunct Researcher of the Penang Institute. Can we give him a big warm welcome, please? Thank you so much, Dato Seri. Also joining Dato Seri is Murthy Murugaya, Senior Director, Global People Services of Micron Memory, Malaysia. Amar Chaja, Country Head of UST Malaysia. And last but not least, Vic Sitansanan, Managing Director of Job Street Malaysia. Vic, good to see you, my friend. So as you can see, our panel is ready. Get the QR codes. This will be your final opportunity, the final gateway for you to pose your questions. Without further delay, please join me in giving them another big warm welcome, please. And I hand the proceedings over to Dato Seri Lee, please. Dato Seri.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. So I have all my panel here, and I think the introduction has already been done. So the last session this afternoon, we are going to talk about the Great Resignation, because I listened to the whole day's sharing. It has been, at the end of the day, it comes down to one major issue. That particular issue is about talent. Because without talent, then the economy will not move, the production will not move in the manufacturing sector. Similarly, without the talent, even for the services industry would not move. So we have, prior to this, we have certain discussions among ourselves. But I think in order to set the stage clear so that we know what we are talking about this, the theme of this section is going to be about the Great Resignation. But exactly what is this? I think we need to set the stage clear. So from the farthest away, Vic, would you like to maybe set the stage? Exactly what does the Great Resignation means? Please.
Thank you, Dr. Seri. I thought you were going to say, let's start with the ball guy and then, anyway, I think the Great Resignation is interesting because we would have all seen it, Times, Economist, it's plastered all over the kind of press that we've been reading, especially end of last year. So it's actually the name that was coined by a professor from a university in the US. And the Great Resignation was to explain an event that they witnessed. So in October 2021, 4.2 million workers in the US resigned, all in that same month. So that's 3% of the workforce suddenly decided that they're not going to show up to work and they resigned, right? So obviously there was a lot of fear that this was a trend that we would see in every other market in the world. And of course, economists have been tracking it. There have been pockets where people have been resigning en masse, but not to the extent of 3% of your workforce resigning. So that event is what is called the Great Resignation. But what's interesting is this trickle of resignations and people switching jobs and people looking for other ways to get an income is a lasting effect from the pandemic. So there is a new term for that. It's called the Great Reshuffle. As you know, we like naming these things and branding them. And the Great Reshuffle essentially tries to explain that, people that were traditionally in, let's just say job A and it's a normal 9-to-5 job, they can find replacements that could be part-time work or gig work or, they switch to another job that offers more flexibility, for instance. So I think that's the kind of effect that we see all around us. So, I mean, if you speak to anyone who runs a business, who works in a corporate, I think one of the main topics, at a water cooler is always that you can't find the right talent quickly enough. Because as the economy has bounced back, all the businesses are back to being open, but we can't find the right people. So you guys would know best.
Yeah, so hi, thank you, Vic, Dato Seri. So just would like to echo what Vic was sharing just now, right? So over a while ago, before we started the event, so we were just kind of talking about this. So the concept of Great Resignation, which was popularized from US, as what Vic rightfully have said. It talks, when I was in US early this year, so we spoke quite a bit about it to really understand, from Micron, so what was the impact? So impact is quite significant. But when we do some profiling in terms of those people who are resigning, so basically at one point of time in US, the people who quit a job or go into unemployment, they're getting not to say significant, a sizable sum for them from the government in order for them to sustain their livelihood. So people make a choice. Do I have to go the extra mile in order to, with all these challenges that we are facing, do I have to go the extra mile in order to sustain the job, or do I might as well take the, the incentive from the government and just stay at home? So this is what kind of mooted or kind of contributed towards this grace, that big chunk of people choosing not to turn up to work instantaneously. But so now the question here is that, yes, we do see in this part of the world, especially in Malaysia, in terms of the resignation spiking. We don't disagree, we totally agree, because I come from manufacturing industry and we are growing and we continuously face this challenge. But the situation here is a little bit different. So prior to COVID, the turnover trend has always been there. Okay, so we have a certain percentage that which we monitor very closely. During the last 2 years, during the pandemic, things have literally slowed down quite significantly because people choose not to make a move. But now you see a sudden surge. Okay, so can I call this a great resignation? Maybe yes, maybe no, or maybe no. In my understanding, just like what Vic was sharing, I would say it's a reshuffling, meaning to say that people who have been contemplating to take up another job, people who have been looking forward for another career opportunity, people who wanted to try out a different industry, or somebody who wants to try an opportunity in a greenfield startup. So they are now making a move quite aggressively, and that is what kind of creating this surge. So it is still a challenge that we have to manage, but I would say that it is more on a reshuffling. Yep.
Yeah, third and the best definition of the Great Resignation. Just joking. So I'd like to ride on what they said from Job Street and Micron, but I represent the technology R&D and technology services industry. Where we come from, we went through a very funny phase. When we were in Q1 2020, all of a sudden, we thought that, hey, maybe we need to go a bit conservative. Markets might get tightened up. And what do we do with our resources? Especially in the services industry, you need to manage your inventory very well, right? And then we were getting into Q2, Q3. We realized that this pandemic is all about doing more technology, right? Going more digital. And everyone was increasing their digital budget. So all of a sudden, we had a great need for digital talent. And my company, UST, which I represent in Southeast Asia, we are the second largest delivery center in the world. We have a heavy population in India, and Malaysia is second biggest with around 1,500 people now. So, and the problem was so bad down there in India that, just to give you a context how bad it was, typically our industry runs at an attrition of 10 would be the best, and the worst could go to 20-25%. Okay, every year, that's the turnover, that's the attrition we see in our industry. During COVID, there were few companies completely washed away, the small ones, because the increments that the employees were getting were like 100%. And you would feel happy for them leaving rather than wanting to retain them, right? Even we had a lot of demand. We thought we can do 20-25%, 30% correction and keep some of the good ones. But then when you can't do anything for those getting 100% and so on and so forth. So that was one thing that we realized in the industry when it was happening for a digital talent. But then what eventually happened, like how Murthy puts it, that it was a reshuffling where people were choosing what kind of a work they want to do, what kind of a flexibility do they want to have, and how they want to progress their career. The attachment towards the family became prime because they could still work from home in our industry. They could still do a remote working. And that brought in a lot of shift. Eventually, we benefited a lot. You know, technology companies, our valuations got higher, better. We increased our headcount. We were like 1,000 when we started pandemic. Now we are 1,500 already. We have increased by 50%. But if you ask me, yes, we also had attrition. We had close to 20% attrition. We still did not have as bad as many others had. But then we had 20% attrition. And now we are almost back, getting back to 17-18% range. The effects are still there, but I think there's a lot more to come, because now the Great Recession might follow the Great Resignation. So we are all very peculiar and curious about it. But that's how I feel about the Great Resignation.
Thank you very much. Actually, when I look at one survey from one of the one of the companies, is that they asked their employee what do they value the most post-pandemic. Actually, surprisingly, 70% of the employee wanted to continue the work from home culture, right? So you're talking about, the government now is talking about the shortened working working week. And then just now Murthy shared with us, talking about your factory is giving free food and all those. If you look at it from that perspective, are we entering into something totally new in terms of employment? That is, we have to pamper our employee going forward. The question is that now there is a possibility, just now you mentioned, Amal, about possible recession and all those. Is this pampering sustainable from a business perspective? So Murthy, you want to share? Because
Sure.
you are the one that giving free food, right?
Yeah. Yes, Dato Seri. Okay, no, I think that's a very good perspective. Okay, the post-pandemic, the entire expectation, the market expectation has changed, right? The talent market's expectation has changed. So we can't deny the fact. But do we have a fixed solution, okay, for all this industry? The answer is no. Because the nature of the industry is completely different. So when you talk about manufacturing, if today my operator and technician come and tell I want to work from home, it's not practical at all. Okay, I need them to come to the site, because they need to touch the machines and the products need to go out. So it depends on the industry. So but fundamentally, employees' well-being, I think that is what we have to take care. So regardless whether they are a group of people who can afford to work from home, or they are a group of people who can still be productive working semi-work from home, meaning working remotely on a hybrid mode, or a group of people who are expected to turn up to work in order to deliver the job, because the nature of the job is such. Even my R&D engineers, like for example, although technically we can say that they can afford to work remotely, but they still need to turn up to the site in order to go to the lab, in order to use some of the equipments and also the tools. So it depends on the industry and the nature of the job. Okay, so that will be my response. So, but nevertheless, how are we making sure that the well-being of these people are taken care at the workplace, so that their engagement level still remains regardless of the work mode, whether they are going to be remote, they're going to be hybrid, or they have to be on-site? It's absolutely important. So that is where, for example, so at my workplace, I mean, with the inflation, and the cost of living is going up. We all know, and we don't have to talk much about that, because we go to a nasi kandar shop today. I mean, what was the basic meal that we could have 5 years ago or 3 years ago, and what is the minimum cost that is incurred for a basic meal now? It has inflated. So now what we do is there, like at Micron, so we came out with a global, not only in Malaysia, globally, we came out with the Eat Well program. So we did an analysis in all the sites. So what will be the basic amount of money that is required for somebody to have a decent, healthy meal? So we came out with, like for example, at Micron, everyone gets 10 ringgit when they turn up to work, and they can buy whatever they want, only food items, not groceries. Okay, food items from the department convenience store or from the cafeteria on a daily basis. So to some extent, it provides a basic well-being, meaning to say that, okay, when you turn up to site, okay, your meal for the day is taken care. But if somebody is working from home, they can't claim that. Okay. Secondly, so we do have mothers who came to us. And in fact, I wouldn't say, because we do quite a bit of due diligence for all the resignation that happens to us, especially in the professional category. And I was watching like a hawk to make sure that are they leaving because of this the flexi work reason, or personal well-being, or family reason. So we did a profiling, and we narrowed down as a pocket of working mothers. So they did bring up a point to say that they are caregivers, okay, especially some of the elderly at home, and at the same time for children. because their childcare center is pretty long, pretty far from the workplace, and they have to go back early. So it's creating some level of discomfort. But they have not left for that reason, but they have been expressing this during the focus group discussion. So what we have done, I think maybe some of you are well aware, it's going to be launched very soon by the Chief Minister, where Micron have taken the initiative in collaboration with the state government in order to form the first childcare center at Batukawan. Okay, so where we will have the capacity to house 100 students for a start. So we are collaborating with a third-party service provider called White House. Everything has been sealed. So now the renovation is taking place in all of that place, and next month it is going to be launched. So these are the kind of efforts that we are taking in order to make sure that the well-being of the team members or the employees are taken care, regardless, in whichever category they come under. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Murthy. Amar, as far as UST is concerned, it's a digital transformation solution company. It's an international company. So I'm quite sure that you have many of your talent is in multiple countries and multiple sites. So in Penang and in Malaysia, to a certain extent, people are poaching, in quote, poaching our talent, right? They come over to Penang, actually they recruit, and then they position them in Taiwan, Singapore, etc., etc. So from your perspective in running a global company, how can you ride on other people's talent in order for you to move your operation in Penang?
Yeah, Dato. So there are goods and bads. The good for us is we are quite cost competitive being in Malaysia. And another thing good is that Malaysia is still a very attractive country in South Asia. From attractive, what I mean is I can still import talent from India, from Philippines, from Bangladesh, digital talent, good talent, and that would still be affordable for me to run the operations. Okay, unlike Singapore would cost me more. I have operations in Singapore, I have operations in Vietnam. So, and in the work that we do, sometimes the complexity is so high, it's not about any country. If you go to Singapore, you would see talent there from all over the world. It's not all Singaporeans. That's what I see in UK, that's what I see in US. It's never the only talent that is there in the country. There's a lot of emigration, especially that happens in engineering talent is what we have seen worldwide, right? So I'm very vocal about it. I'm saying that if Malaysia has to be the hub for UST, if UST, Malaysia has to be the hub for Southeast Asia, which we are right now. I have the Center of Excellence leads for all my region sitting out of here in Penang. I need to have the best talent with me. Because when my customers come to me for complex engineering solutions, I just can't give them average. And I only serve Fortune 500, right? The top banks, the top retailers, the top semicon guys. I have to give them world-class solution. I need to have the world-class architects with me, the world-class engineers with me. And there's always a problem of plenty. You never have a problem of enough talent is not there. And so what we derived as a strategy was, we said there is only one strategy, which is talent. We said talent is the only strategy in the company. Wherever you get the right talent, just grab it. You'll be surprised. I have started operations in Vietnam. Just during COVID, I don't have an office. I have 23 people working out of there. I still don't have an office. Because I just got good talent, they are working from anywhere they want. Obviously, we are going to set up, we have finalized a center in Ho Chi Minh City now, we are going to set up things there, all that is happening. But then what I'm trying to tell you is, wherever we get good talent, we are investing there extensively. Malaysia got a great advantage because of two reasons. One is, we compete against three regions in the world. One is Eastern Europe, one is India, and one is Malaysia. When I look at it, this part of the world, for the digital engineering talent. India had worse great resignation period. I have a huge team in India, 20,000 people in UST work in India. The problem is you would offer 10 people, 7 of them will not show up. They will not show up on the date of joining. So when I got a lot of projects in Malaysia, last 10 years in Malaysia, I've been saying that, hey, Malaysia is cheap, we can do price as India, don't worry, I'll do a lot of work. I was branding, blowing the trumpet, getting more projects to Malaysia. Last 2 years, I'm saying, Malaysia is expensive. Only if you've got money, then give the project to me because I don't have enough talent. And then they said, Amar, don't worry about money. You got people or not? You got people. If you have people, they are willing to pay more because they have burned their fingers in India. That is one problem. Second problem, in Eastern Europe, they always had very flexible working model. I'm talking about countries like Poland. I have operations in Poland, which I'm in charge of, so I get a first-hand perspective. Then we acquired a company in Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria. Eastern Europe is an important part of the strategy. There, the talent situation is even worse. even worse. So what I thought was, first I had sleepless nights. When the COVID fell down, it looked like a China thing, then it came to Malaysia, and then, my customers are mostly in Europe and US, and they were like, oh my God, you sure you want to work with them because their team is all over in the Asia? And then luckily, or whatever happened, after a quarter, it's twisted, right? Then Europe became worse, and then the acceptability became wider for understanding that, okay, COVID is a real issue. And during that time, we realized that the flexibility to have more people, to charge better rates, to grow talent here became better and brighter because we were able to charge premium, and everyone wanted to do digital transformation, to tell you honestly. They had problem of technology, the problem of going to cloud, problem of upgrading their tech stack. We are a premium provider. We did maintain quality. We got in a lot of talent. We lost a lot of talent. There was a war of talent because USD is quite popular for the digital talent. Everyone went after our people, and they were all friends in the industry. so we were all pinching here and there. But then we trained 400 people in last 3 years. 400 people. We got a lot of fresh graduates. We could not import a lot of foreign talent, but luckily our customers were willing to even have people work from anywhere that they want last 2 years. Now I'm working to bring back the Vietnamese, the Indians, whoever I have to bring a little bit. But overall, our percentage of expat versus local has increased a lot during the pandemic. Just to give you a context, we used to be 20% expat before pre-pandemic. Now we are only 10% expat because the local talent has come up very strong. And even the acceptance of the senior talent or whatever niche talent working remotely has been more acceptable in our industry. Yeah. Sorry for a long answer.
Thank you, Amal, and also thank you, Murthy. Because the situation here, sometimes we hear about a lot of complaint from the employer, but I think both of you put them into perspective. When you do comparison, then actually we are not that bad after all, right? That is, I think, the message I get from both of you. Vic, you are, actually JobStreet is the top recruiter in this particular region. So you have actually comparative studies among countries around this area. Maybe you want to share with us, with the employer here, and also maybe with the potential employee, exactly what is the trend going forward in getting this talent to this employer? Or what are these employees looking forward to in order to be attracted to the potential employer?
I think, yeah, great question. Multiple layers to the answer. Okay, but I think, okay, so let's just look at the core, right? If you look at the number of job ads that are on the platform, actually just in any of the platforms, there's more job ads today than there were before the pandemic. So there's actually more openings now than there were before. So that's the first stat. Second stat is there's more candidates looking for job opportunities than there were in 2019. So that means in both cases, we have an increase. Where we see that there is a gap is there's an application gap. So what I mean is this. So a candidate, if you think about the journey of a job matching site, whether it's us or a competitor or whatever, you would go onto a site, you would read the job description, and then you would click apply, and then obviously that's the start of the process of your application. So what we see is a lot of candidates coming in, a lot of candidates searching for jobs, a lot of candidates reading the job description, and not a lot of candidates applying for work. So there is an application gap. There's no candidate shortage. It's just that they're not willing to apply for work. So upon deeper research and trying to understand why this behavior exists, and we were just talking about it just now, is the supply and demand is not the quantity mismatch. It's a quality mismatch. So you see the jobs have returned to pre-pandemic jobs, full-time, maybe with an additional requirement of digital skills, actually more now than before the pandemic. But the general job description is similar. Full-time, we need you 9 to 5 or whatever it is that the normal job description would be. But the candidate is looking for flexibility, childcare, all of these other softer measures of making sure that work life is integrated and it's not just a balance. See, what was interesting during the pandemic is, work life used to be a cliche. We used to always talk about it, but people lived it. across the pandemic, across a couple of years when we were in lockdown, and it was an integration because your kid may be in school and you're doing a Zoom call at the same time, in the same dining table, right? One person is doing a class, but that got you closer to your family, and those are the things that you're looking for now. So I think what Micron's doing and Murthy is doing is amazing because your healthy meals, childcare. So these are things that if you put it on the job description, people are going to be very attracted to that. So I think that's where the mismatch is. People are looking for work, and people will switch work. It's just that they are not finding things that are attractive enough for them to click the apply button. So that's what we're seeing, not just here, but we're seeing it across. So we operate in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and Hong Kong today, in Asia. Of course, we have Australia and Latin America as well. But in Asia, the behavior is the same. More candidates, more jobs, less applications per job.
Then coming back to you, Murthy, you are talking about ESG, I presume, right? The well-being of your employees being important, etc., etc. But you also, to a certain extent, have to factor in the efficiency, right? Work-life balance sometimes might entail decrease in efficiency. I don't know whether I'm wrong or not. It could be a myth. That is one. Then the other aspect is that you also have to ensure that your bottom line is taken care of, right? So how do you strike a balance to maintain your costs and your efficiency, but at the same time to be able to maintain your workforce in order to ensure that your operation is not disrupted?
Yeah, thanks, Dato Sri. I mean, there's no straightforward or clear-cut answer for that question because it is a very unique environment that we have to be very cognizant about because at the end of the day, for a business to be sustainable, it has to be profitable. Okay, in order for a business to be profitable, so we need to manage the cost very prudently. So that is one area or one part which we cannot overlook. It's part of the game and part of the formula and it's part of the equation. So what we focus on, like for example, I mean, Micron is a very demanding organization. I mean, I as a human resources head, and I don't. I will not hesitate to say that. It's a very demanding organization and we make it a point every time when we hire somebody into the organization. So demanding in the sense that, in terms of the deliverables. But at the same time, we are also an organization that is very particular about an employee's well-being. Okay, so talking about work-life balance and work-life integration is something that we are still debating in our organization, whether integration is a right way of creating a well-being or not. Right? So maybe yes, maybe no. There's a school of thought that says that integration may not be because you need to
boundaries, right?
Yeah, they need to have boundaries, right? So because people need to have their private space and things like that. So we are very open to concepts like this, and we are very. In fact, I'm not sure about how many organizations, but at Micron in Penang, I have a team member advocate like a full-time counselor. Full job is basically talking to people on their well-being, and we have a well-being specialist, the one who looks into all the well-being aspect of people, be it an engineer group, managers group, and including operators, technician, and so on. In fact, we also watch that we take an inventory of the meeting hours that our managers go in. And we make it a point to monitor whether they are doing beyond a certain threshold or not after their working hours. So that's the level of detail that we go in order to make sure that the well-being of the people are taken care, although we are really demanding. So, in a nutshell, the culture. The culture is our primary focus at Micron. So what kind of culture that we are going to be creating, it is going to be our differentiator. So just simply by throwing money to take care of the welfare of the people, will it be able to retain people? Not necessarily true. Okay, just by giving a lot of increment, a lot of promotion, is it going to make sure that employees are retained? May not necessarily be true because there's always something that people look for and something that excites people, something that doesn't excite people. So in a nutshell, we look forward to build a culture coming back to the, the turnover that we are talking about talking about the current generation, the millennials that we are hiring, who are literally flooding the market now, we have to live with them, and this is the future generation of workforce and the leaders that we have to embrace into the organization. Their way of operating is very simple. They want to try out new things. Okay, so no matter how well we manage and we take care of this, we will not be able to stop people from trying out a new opportunity. So in our Micron's way of doing things here is that our philosophy is to ensure that talent choose Micron again and again. Meaning it's okay for you to go out and try something. As long as if you think that this culture over here is appealing, it should be able to draw you back. Okay, so that is the kind of mode that we are getting into, Dato Sri. So it is not a compromise. It's basically a balance that we are trying to create in every aspect so that we create the right cultures in order for us to attract and retain talent.
Thank you. Amar, coming back to you is when ESG is a very sexy sort of item now with most of these corporations. So you are an international global company, and then you employed many of these young generation of employees with you. So how important is this ESG agenda to your company in terms of employment perspective?
Yeah, I'll try to be a bit honest, Dato Sri. Actually, ESG is important to us more from a valuation perspective, because the investors look at ESG as a key KPI when they are looking at investing in company. That is one thing. So our CEO also made a big announcement, will be 100% green, and we all are living by that. We measured the number of trees we have planted. I think we also got ENY to have an interview with you, to see how the nation is doing and what UST is doing there. So we are serious for that perspective. But when coming back to attracting the millennials and all that stuff, I think what they care most about, especially in my industry, is about learning, and to work on latest technology. They want to know what is the next technology company coming, what is 5G, what is IoT, how can I have connected devices, how can I create a device, how can I integrate things with drone and have a UI coming up snapshot. So they would be more interested to work on new things. If they see the learning opportunity, that's where most of our latest new talent are glued to. Gone are the days where we see people coming to job for money. I mean, they do care about the compensation, but then it's not our time when we would have, obligations. We would want that paycheck. We were worried about that 30th of the month and have a paychecks and bills to pay. Now we see that fear has reduced. Maybe it's like Murthy said, a lot of government jobs have been given around the world, to people for whatever unemployment or whatever, that could be one factor. Another factor I see is that this generation's family, they are a bit more well off, those who come to our line, engineering, STEM education. So we have to attract them by the quality of work, by some benefits, like Murthy said. We have different benefits for different kind of people to get them hooked up to. And also sometimes global opportunities, surprisingly, because what we try to do is when people are trying to go themselves to certain places, we'll try to bring people, we'll try to send people, but then it's really amazing what the new generation wants, whether they want a global travel opportunity, global learning opportunity, to be able to work on niche projects and to continuously learn. And the learning curve has become very fast and very relevant. Now we can install apps in mobile, right? All of us can install app. You don't need to be an engineer to install any app in mobile. We believe that we all can code. People like us in next 10, 15, 20 years, I think will be able to code on your own, because there are so many low-code, no-code platforms. Some tech guy will make it so easy for any one of us to code. So I feel that the learning curve is becoming very faster and very ad hoc, and that's what we try to keep up to as a technology leading organization, and that's what keeps our talent glued to us. Yeah.
But you see, the position is that I see another contradictory trend. While you were talking about maybe the younger generation now is interested to learn, the desire to learn is very high. But I am just wondering whether these only represent a small minority, because on the other hand, I also observe that the younger generation nowadays, they do not agree to delay gratification. So they just want to take their time almost immediately in order to get the money and then live their life as they want. So that is actually the situation, for example, in the gig economy now. I don't need to go to university. For example, we have certain statistics to show that 70% of our SPM school leaver decide not to pursue another level of education. The reason is very simple, because then they can just move into the gig economy. They want to become the social media influencer or whatsoever. Then they can get the money, and they straight away can have the immediate gratification. So I think maybe, Vic, from your perspective, I will come back to Amar. What do you see that this is a part of the issue that you are facing when you try to recruit this talent for the employer?
I wouldn't say this is I wouldn't say this is an edge case where, people feel they can, I think all young people today, if you speak to young kids, they think they can be YouTube stars or TikTok stars or whatever, because that's what they are. But in honest reality, I think if they give that a go for 2-3 months, they would stop doing it, because there's, it is a very long term, and all the guys that are driving around Lamborghinis started doing this like 10 years ago, right? That's why they've such a big following. So I don't really come across, where the younger generation would rather not have a career. And I think this is where the ESG point that Murthy brought up as well. I think the fact is, it's not that the young generation want to necessarily participate more in ESG activities, but I think they want to be associated with companies that have a conscience or a purpose. So I think they like that comfort of by association, they have a purpose. Like at Seek, we exist because we want to help people live more fulfilling and productive work lives. So that's one part of our ethos. And the second part is to help organizations succeed. So because we're a marketplace, so we bring in hirers like you guys, they're both my clients actually, and also talent that's looking for work, right? So for us, ESG is very important at Seek. So we, firstly, are a carbon neutral company. So even our Malaysia operation is a carbon neutral operation as of our last financial year. And we support, green initiatives all around the world in order to buy the carbon offsets. And we also do a lot on the social aspect, like because we are a job board, so things like, policies against modern slavery, working with government to ensure that these are policed, and working with, there's been recent spate of all of these scams happening. So we're very much involved in trying to help in those situations as well. And I think those things, the fact that our company is involved in that, and it's all topical, I think the team gets very excited that we are helping. It's not that they're volunteering to do more work, it's just that they feel like, great, I'm part of a company that's actually helping out and doing a lot of these things. Of course, some people help and some people volunteer, but not any more than previous generations. I would say the proportion is probably the same.
I enjoy this particular conversation. I would like to continue, but I think the organizers say that time is up. But I would like to give each and one of you to, let's say, 2 sentences to share with us your vision of this in terms of the talent issue that you are facing, especially from your perspective, and how best do you think that for you to move forward? Just 2-3 sentences.
Okay, maybe I'll go first. Okay, so in my perspective, when we talk about the talent landscape, I would say in Malaysia, just like how my fellow panelists have also clearly articulated, right? It is not about the quantity of supply. I think the supply is there, but it's about the mismatch of the quality that we're looking at. So so we need more engagement between the private and also the public agencies. That is my desire. Because as a policy maker, if the policy makers willing to listen to the private entity or the organization in terms of the actual demand that we need and what is the kind of skill gaps, and if we can work together, I think we will be able to bridge those gaps. Because in Malaysia, I don't think unemployment is an issue, but underemployment is an issue. Okay, underemployment. So that need to be fixed. we have a high demand of work that requires a particular competency and skill set we are unable to fulfill, and that could only be matched or breached by having this kind of collaboration and also discussion. That's my view.
You have an opportunity coming because make sure you choose the right prime minister so that you can share with him the policy that you want to move forward.
No, I'll let Dato comment.
Okay. Yeah, Amount, 2 sentences.
I feel every crisis is an opportunity. And in particular, the crisis that the world economy is going through right now, I feel is a great opportunity for Malaysia. For what's happening between US and China, for what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, and for what's, and for what we can see is happening to our other possible competitors like India and Eastern Europe, I feel we are rightly placed in the right space of time. Like Murthy said, I think some enablement needs to be made so that, because industries are still driven by P&L. We lose our jobs if we don't take care of P&L. So we have some obligations to our companies. But then if we can have some push, some support from the government, I think we'll come out flying strong and we'll be best positioned post this is done. So I'm very positive and looking forward to it.
That is very encouraging. So Vic, actually, as far as the state of Penang is concerned, we have actually a target to attract 30,000 talent to Penang every year. So you are in this business. So maybe you want to share with us how can you help us to achieve this particular target?
Yeah, so I think this is an opportunity. I agree as well. I think if if a lot of the companies that are hiring talent are still doing it the old way, this is an opportunity to revamp and match, instead of being a mismatch, match up with the talent's requirements, and you'll be able to get your 30,000 talent in Penang. I mean, Penang's a great place to live, right?
Yep. It's a very, very nice place for everything, to do business as well. Back to you.
Dato Seri, thank you so much. Give him a big round of applause, please. Dato William Ng to join us on stage to give tokens of our appreciation. Wonderful discussion once again. Let's give the panel another big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dato Seri. Thank you, Dato. Thank you, gentlemen.